Hey everyone, it's Sensei Victoria Whitfield here, your journey partner in business, welcoming you back to episode 70 of the Journeypreneur Podcast. This is your source for channeled holistic stress management techniques, guidance, inspiration, and motivation to stay on your path to rapid financial ascension and massive impact as a conscious entrepreneur. So the title of this podcast episode is Creating Focus, and I wanted to continue to share some of the insights that I had while leading my Abundance Mindset Makeover retreat up in the Berkshires this past weekend. And I was there for a couple of days just with an intimate group of entrepreneurs going through meditations and masterminds for up-leveling our ability to align with abundance in the different areas of our life. And abundance isn't just money. It could be an abundance of time, could be an abundance of health, could be an abundance of love and affection, could also be an abundance, yes, of money, or an abundance of visibility, or just an abundance of peace of mind. So, and what was another thing that we were talking about is how we can't focus. And got into that a little bit in the last podcast episode, but I want to tell you a few more stories that made me think of you. One of my VIP clients was sharing how she has the hardest time finding her ability to focus. And especially when focusing on what's going to make her the most money, or what's going to be her right next step, or even focusing on the homework that I give her. I was thinking of her, oh my goodness, as I'm sitting there at the retreat, she was not able to make it in person to this one in that group in particular. And I was thinking of how she's having such a hard time organizing her thoughts. And if you've taken my quiz at victoriawhitfield.com/quiz, you know that there are different results that you can get. And one of the results, and this is for only a few of you if you're listening in, is the scattered problem. Like, your main driving energetic drain on your business is that you're scattered. And this is her problem in particular. And what I call you is a unicorn, right? You have this magical, unique ability to have multiple loves, multiple strengths, and multiple things going on at once. But the problem is your energy is dispersed into multiple different directions because you're that creative. And as we discussed in the last podcast episode, the biggest problem that we face as creative entrepreneurs is being able to focus, channel all of that incredible creative energy into the one thing and take it from vision to manifestation, right? To take it from idea to complete and total implementation, integration, application, and even delegation and automation, right? And we're able to just fully release, and ground the idea into physical reality here, right? Into dollars in the bank, or into hugs and kisses at home, or into strength in your body, whatever it is you are manifesting. So I'm thinking of her as I'm sitting in the group of entrepreneurs at the Abundance Mindset Makeover retreat, and her problem is not unique. As magical and unique a unicorn that she is, or that you may be, her problem is not unique. Because, one of the attendees, he's one of the newer members of my VIP circle. And when you join that, you get all 5 of my retreats for the year at the level that he joined. And so he was communicating that the biggest value that he gets from being in the Visionary Shaman Circle, which is the name of the program, he says the biggest value that he gets is just the space to think differently. And especially, it's a safe space. So he can show up in the fullest expression of who he is, right? He's a man that works with his hands, right? He's in the service industry, is his company, and he's very successful, right? He, his typical client closes at around, between $50,000 to $500,000. So like he's doing well for himself and has been in business for quite some time, and he's looking to pivot and take things to the next level. And at the same time, he's incredibly spiritual, soulful man, has desires and aspirations for himself, for his family, just so much love to give. And unfortunately, where he comes from, that amongst men is kind of under-nurtured, unfortunately, right? So being a soulful, expressive, and yes, heterosexual in his case, man, for some reason that is out of bounds where he comes from. So being in this program, he gets to really spread his wings and really step into his voice and really own his power. And I'm so honored and grateful to get to hold a safe space for him to be wholly and completely himself so that he can think differently. When he gets back home, he was sharing that it's one distraction after another. I mean, yes, with love, he has beautiful children, and yes, with love, they are a tremendous distraction, right? Or the team at the office, or his life partner, how she's responding to it. It's so difficult for him to be able to focus. And then another one of the attendees who's been to pretty much every single one of my retreats piped in when he was sharing and just glowing about how grateful he is to be here and be in this program and be at the retreat, right? Be at the live events with us. The woman who's been to pretty much every single one of these mastermind workshop retreats, she's like, well, I'm glad that you see that because this works. I think differently, not just because I come to these, but now it's bled into the rest of my life. How I show up, she's a project manager at a creative firm. So how I show up for the team, the energy that I bring to the office is entirely different. And the energy that I bring to my relationships and my dating life is entirely different. I have much more confidence because I've been giving to myself first now. And it was wonderful. We're just celebrating her and all that she's been able to accomplish because of how she's been able to create focus. She's not, hardcore trying to focus or push hard. I've already done podcast episodes on how working harder is not working smarter, right? Working softer is actually working smarter. And you can go and check that out and scroll back on iTunes and re-listen to that. So she drank the Kool-Aid and she is enjoying the flavor of it. The benefits of having creative focus. And how she did it was on the calendar. Whenever I'm having a retreat, this is what spoke to her as a creative entrepreneur, right? And a creative manager as well. She leads teams. Every single time I'm having a retreat, she's like, Victoria, I'm there. This is my lifestyle because I know what to expect when I come to these experiences. I know that we're going to do this at this certain time of day. I know that you're going to be covering this topic. But every single time you cover it, you are different and you bring it with a whole nother level of exactly what I need. And I love that. I know what to expect when I go to the venues and the locations. I know the quality that it's going to be there. This is my creative focus container. So because she knows that she's going to be held, that the container has been crafted to hold her so powerfully, she will keep showing up to it, and because of that, she will keep creating focus. Now, as you're listening into this, I want to turn it over to you. How do you create focus? Do you have a container that is strong enough and integrous enough and persistent enough? If you remember from the last podcast episode, as we were talking about Napoleon Hill, talking on persistence, is the container that persistent in holding you that you can focus when you're inside of it? Now, what do I mean by container? Do I mean like a box that you put yourself into? No, I'm so glad that you asked. No, what I mean is a sacred container. And what the qualities of a sacred container are this. It is a time and a place that induces positive vulnerability. The more that you can integrate using sacred containers in your life, the more you can expect to manifest on demand. I'm going to repeat that. The more that you can create sacred containers in your life, meaning time and space for positive vulnerability, sustained positive vulnerability, the more you can expect manifestations on demand. So when we're talking about breaks on demand, which was the last podcast episode, the thing that needs to be in place is a structure around you as a creative individual that can seduce you into persistence. This is not a push. This is not an energy that you come with. I'm going to push through this in order to focus. I'm going to force myself to focus. No, 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 no. As the conscious entrepreneur that you are, as the highly sensitive individual that you are, as the empath that you are, how you focus is going to look entirely different than the heteronormative masculine hegemony is going to try and convince you that it should look. And yes, I just used some collegiate level words. Go Google it. Anyway, be kind to yourself. How you focus is how you focus, right? So I want this to be something bigger than go and organize your desk or make sure that your bed is made. And there have been absolutely fabulous motivational speeches made on how powerful it is to make sure that every morning your bed is made, right? Because you have a small win. And for sure, if you haven't gone and checked that out, by all means, go and listen to those talks. But I want this to be even bigger than just making your bed or doing more tiny tasks that you can control in order to create a state of focus. Because if we don't make this bigger than these little tasks that you do, and I know you do it because here's my hand waving in the air, guilty as charged, right? So I was mentioning in the last podcast episode about doing the hokey pokey and turning myself around. Yeah. So for me, the ways that I do the hokey pokey and turn myself around is okay. I have to make sure that I am always facing trees in order to focus. Like I have to see out of a window and always be facing trees. And I have to make sure that my bed is made and made well so that I'm able to focus. Right? Or I need to sit in the certain chair that just makes me feel so much better, and that's how I'm able to focus. Or before I'm able to begin speaking on stage, I have to be dancing first. Or before I'm able to work on my bookkeeping and accounting, I have to clean off my desk and all of that, all right? Before I manifest another 3 clients, I have to make sure I create those 3 manifesting client folders. Don't get me wrong. Doing the hokey pokey and turning myself around, yeah, that turns me on and plugs me in to my source. And like with a capital S, that plugs me into my source. I know, all right, this is my thing. Maybe this is my tick. Maybe I have ticks, y'all. maybe I have tics. And shout out to you. Oh, we're listening and being like, listen, I need to be writing with this kind of blue pen or else I'm not having it. Shout out. If that's you too, mwah, right? Mine is Bic with the purple ink. But anyway, maybe I have a tic, and I understand that, but we need to make this even bigger than just those individual little tasks that we're doing, because I'll put this on me. I can get caught up in making sure that everything is in its place before I actually go and do the thing. Versus if I create a container that when I show up there, something is going to happen. Like this has to happen. Right? If I create a time and a space for my positive vulnerability, that when I show up in that time and space, in that state and induce that state, I'm like, something has to happen, right? I cannot resist the manifestation. That is a break on demand. That is my focus on demand. That is Victoria showing up in the fullness of who she is on demand. So what does that look like, right? For this woman who I was talking about, her name is Isabel. For her, that was every single retreat with Victoria, she is there, right? Because this is her lifestyle. She was even sharing about how she's telling one of the people she was dating recently, and he's like, so how often do you retreat? And she's like, yeah, every 2-3 months. He's like, really? She's like, yeah. This is the life that she lives. This is the life that she lives, that he had to raise his vibration, right? To come up to her. There's no shame in how she's taking care of herself, because this is her self-care, right? This is her professional self-care that happens to also raise her personal vibration. So that's how she created her focus at the retreats. And there's even many ways that we create sacred containers. There's this practice called nesting, for example, where you have to build your workspace for the weekend. You have to build that to your liking. And that's your realm. Nobody's supposed to be walking into it unless, the dog happens to come and give you a kiss, as maybe he comes to visit here and there. But this is your realm. So in that sacred container, your transformation is going to happen. It was created with that intention in mind, so you cannot resist it once that event starts coming on. And then we hold the emotional space of positive vulnerability. The more that you can be in a state of positive vulnerability, the more you can expect manifestations on demand. I want you to get this into your head. I don't know who I'm doing this podcast for, but if you're listening to it right now, baby, this one's for you. The reason why you can't focus is because you don't have a sacred container to back you up. And if you do, okay, so you have your office that you love, and you have your team that you love, and you have your pen that you love, or you have speaking engagements regularly recurring on your calendar, or your networking group is regularly recurring on your calendar, and the manifestation still isn't coming, then okay, the other half is, how are you showing up? Because remember, the quality of a sacred container, this wonderful focus vortex that we can generate on demand, is that you are showing up in it with a state of positive vulnerability. And this is a whole nother can of worms. This is a whole other can of worms that I wish I had time to open up in this podcast episode. My nose is telling me that in the next couple interviews, though, you're going to hear some examples of people who've been in that state of just open and allowing and flowing, right? Being in that state of positive vulnerability. So stay tuned. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on iTunes or on Podbean, wherever you're watching, listening. I know some of you are watching on YouTube as well. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button, because the more that you expose yourself to people who are comfortable being in a state of positive vulnerability, the more your ability, that is, just naturally blossoms and opens up. And this is a divine feminine skill awakening in you, positive vulnerability. So this is not something that I could come in and say, all right, step 1 of 5 in opening up to your positive vulnerability sense and all of that. No. Nope. This is not how that works. When it is a divine feminine skill, this is something that is infectious. You catch it by infection. And by the way, every single time I am recording each and every one of these podcast episodes, I myself am in a state of positive vulnerability. I leave the flubs in on purpose, right? If I stutter or if I kind of forget what I'm saying, or if the technology has a little bit of kerfuffle, I don't want this to be perfect. I want you to be in a state of, ooh, I'm in the flow. I'm in the co-creative flow with Victoria. I am feeling so focused as she is feeling so focused, pouring into me, right? I want you to catch this. May your ability to be positively vulnerable, open, and flowing, overflowing in your state of focus catch fire. And so it is, right? This is something that, achoo, I'm going to sneeze onto you. You can catch. Yes. Well, when we're creating focus, the more that we have sacred containers, the more it shows up. The more you have recurring events, recurring spaces where you are able to be in positive vulnerability, the more you can create manifestation on demand. Now, my guides are telling me to end this podcast episode with one last point, and it is this. Intention is everything. So if you're reading or rereading, like I am, through Think and Grow Rich, the first thing that Napoleon talks about is definiteness of purpose. So that's basically stating your intention, knowing your intention, being clear on what's the direction we're going in, right? What are you aligning to? What are you manifesting in the first place? If you know what you want, in layman's terms, if you know what you want, then this is the key, right? All you need to do is create a state of persistent focus. Create sacred containers that you can show up in with positive vulnerability. If you know what you want, right? Because when you do that, I'm going to keep saying this over and over until it lands, you will have manifestation on demand. But if you do not know what you want in the first place, then that means we've got to reconnect you to your desire. So the next time I'm doing a podcast episode, it isn't just an interview, I will tell you a little bit more about how you can turn back on your ability to dream and desire. Maybe you've lost that. But if you stay tuned, we'll be back in another few podcast episodes. I'm going to tell you all about it. Let's work through this together. By the way, was this podcast episode for you? If so, leave me a 5-star review on iTunes and put it in the comments section. Let me know what was the part that stood out the most to you, that really hit home, and you're like, ooh, that one was for me. I love reading through your comments and your stories. It just makes me so happy, and it helps me better serve you as our tribe, our global tribe of journeypreneurs. And so, by the way, if my retreats speak to you, come on over, make sure that you fill out an application. I'd love to get to see you in person and work through your energy together with other conscious entrepreneurs. You can head on over to victoriawhitfield.com/retreats. to fill out an application there. All right. So that's it for today's podcast episode. I'm wishing you, as always, so much love. And please remember, enjoy the journey. Do not lose your glow as you grow in life and business. And I'll see you in the next podcast episode. Bye for now. Mwah.